to the Inside Scoop Emerald Planet. Here again, your host, Dr. Sam.
Hello and welcome to the Emerald Planet as we come to you from Washington, D.C. in the United States as we're looking for those 1,000 best practices, the technologies, the services, and the products that are making a difference as we move through the 21st century. And we're looking for the ways that we're going to be able to take care of 2 billion new people are going to be joining us on planet Earth. And as we go to a population of over 9 billion people, and it's something that's a daunting task. And at the same time, because of climate change and the concentration of all these people in urban areas, that disasters are coming more often and also much more volatile than in the past. And we have 2 gentlemen that are actually working on this on behalf of Rotary International and the international group called the Rotary Actors. We have Robert R., goes by Bob Grill, who is the Chair, Board of Directors, and co-founder. It's a lot of titles you have there, Bob. Disaster Aid USA, and also he is the past district governor for District 7620 of Rotary International. And then sitting right beside him is Kyle Morford, who is the co-founder, member board of directors of Disaster Aid USA, and is vice president of the Rotary Club of Washington, D.C. You guys are very, very busy. But we're glad to have you. Bob, welcome, and Kyle as well.
Thanks for having us.
Good. Thank you, Sam, for welcoming us here and helping us with our program that we so dearly love.
Well, I think you're doing absolutely great work, and Disaster Aid USA is really in many different countries, and also domestically is something we need to bring out. But tell us a little bit about Disaster Aid USA and its connection to Rotary International through the district, but also directly back to the mothership of Rotary International.
Well, the mothership is Rotary International. Rotary International consists of clubs. Clubs are actually members of Rotary International. Rotarians are members of the club. Disaster Aid USA is a project of a Rotary Club in Prince George's County called the Historic Rotary Club of Prince George's County.
And that's in Maryland,
that's
the
in
state
Maryland.
in the United States.
Right, and that used to be, just until recently, the name was changed. It used to be the Bladenburg Rotary Club of Bladenburg, Maryland.
Right.
In connection with Rotary International, Disaster Aid is more or less a recognized project of the Rotary Club of Historic Prince George's County. District-wise, we have been very much supported by District 7620. Since 2010, the district governors, and there's a new district governor every year, the district governors have helped promote us in the district, in neighboring districts, and have partnered with us on projects. And so they've been very much supportive of what we're doing. So.
Well, and Kyle, I know you're a member of the Rotaract Club, and so I'm going to have you define what that is. But why did you agree to be a co-founder and be involved in this Disaster Aid USA? And why the connection between Rotaractors and Disaster Aid?
Sure. Bob and I met each other at the tail end of 2009. We were met at a Rotary Club meeting and discussing, our passions in life, what we do. We both had been involved in domestic disaster relief and international domestic disaster relief for many years. Bob and I had the kind of verbal understanding at the time that we wanted to start some kind of organization that we thought more appropriate for Rotary values, for showing what Rotarians do in action, Rotary in action. So after many conversations in a few months, we put together a plan to come up with Disaster Aid USA. So we worked for a long time, all throughout 2010, getting Disaster Aid USA off the ground, getting a good solid board together, and it's been successful ever since. Rotaract Club, so what Rotaractors are 18 to 30-year-olds. We're in the Rotary family, so we're like the junior Rotarians, as you might say. I'm the vice president this year of the Rotaract Club of Washington, D.C. And it's very important to get younger people involved in disaster response. We may not always have as much time to give or as much money to give, but we do what we can, and it's a evolving dynamic. trying to get younger people in disaster response organizations, trying to get volunteer experience. And we've been partnering with Rotaract clubs and Rotary clubs all around the world since 2009.
And also growing the next crop of Rotarians as far as that is concerned, which is really a great thing because Rotary is one of the few international service organizations that continues to grow. 34,000 clubs around the globe, almost 1.4 million members. And so that's really a tremendous outreach. And Bob, you're part of that whole thing as a former district governor, and that's something that carries on many years in the future. But tell us about the difference between Disaster Aid USA and its work with the domestic side, and then how is that different than maybe what goes on with international disaster work?
Okay, well, there's an international disaster, say like the Philippines, like the typhoon that occurred over there last year. There's been one since then, but that was the main one that really Disaster Aid USA really put a lot of aid to. Mm-hmm. When Disaster Aid USA deploys, we deploy as Disaster Aid International because we have international Rotary Club partners, and when we do deploy, we always meet 2 directors from each country. Disaster Aid USA has 2 directors, Disaster Aid Australia has 2 directors, Disaster Aid UK Ireland, and Disaster Aid Malaysia. We usually meet by Skype.
So you're really covering the globe then, because
That's right.
you're on different continents with each of these different representatives.
Right, and probably one of the unique features is that we're all Rotary Club projects. Mm-hmm. And in order to be a partner, you have to be a Rotary Club project. So when a disaster occurs, we meet, it's by Skype, and we discuss the disaster, we discuss the need, and we discuss whether we should deploy. And if we decide we should deploy, we have a deployment manager. And it's his job to go over there and to talk to the people that are affected, the officials, Rotary clubs, district governors, whoever is involved in a disaster. And we asked, what do you need? And they say, you have a beautiful box. It has a beautiful tent in it, but there's items in there we don't need, so we really don't want the box. So can you provide us a tent? But we need tarpaulins because most of the roofs have been half destroyed, and this will make it. And also we need home repair kits. Okay, fine. So that's
so the kits actually vary depending on the needs
on whatever
of
the need
whatever
is,
the
right.
disaster area,
Right.
whether it's USA or
Right.
international.
So you can see our tent there. Our tent is an 8-person tent. Our tent was developed, actually designed, by our executive director of Disaster Aid USA. Mm-hmm. He is the designer of the tent, and that is an 8-person tent. That tent is included in our disaster aid box when it's deployed. When the box is needed, we deploy the box.
Yeah.
That's our international side. Mm-hmm. And when we never send anything out, no aid is sent out unless DARTs go with it, Disaster Aid Response Team people. Those are people that have been trained for disaster relief. They make sure that the whatever we send out goes to the right people.
Okay, good. And we're going to talk about that in more depth in just a little bit. Kyle, about the organizational structure that you have, Bob was telling us a little bit about that. If you can be a little more specific.
Sure.
And then also what other groups, organizations are you collaborating with in order to bring this forward as far as disaster aid within the United States, local countries, and overseas?
When we set up Disaster Aid USA, we modeled it after Rotary's 11 U.S. Rotary zones. So what a Rotary zone is, for instance, there's a Rotary club in almost every city in the U.S. Okay, so those clubs, many of them create a district, and many districts in the different geographies make up a zone. So there's 11 zones across the U.S. Each zone is independent. They each have their own board made up of Rotarians in their zone, so throughout the districts in a zone. Each zone has the responsibility to recruit ambassadors, which are people who go out to other Rotary clubs, other civics organizations, and recruit people, spread the word. And then they're also responsible for recruiting disaster responders for their area, because they respond in their own zone. So if zone 7 only responds to zone 7, unless there's need in other zones, but they're basically responsible for governing their own zone. One person from that zone board responds to the Disaster Aid USA main board, and they're responsible for the organizational oversight.
So you really have national coverage, and I would assume that goes to all the territories of the United States.
Yes.
As well. Okay.
Yes, and each zone also has their own disaster response trailer. So everything that you would need, such as chainsaws and things that Bob will talk about in just a little bit.
Well, Bob, he teed it up for you perfectly.
That's right.
So he's talking about disaster response trailers, and we have one of these here on the image. What other supplies actually go along with these trailers?
Each trailer is more or less supplied to the disasters that normally occur in that zone, but generally speaking, the trailers are equipped with chainsaws. They have ladders. They have water filters. They have generators. They have a water purification unit. I know that this Zone 33's disaster relief trailer has a water wagon. That'll purify almost any surface water and make it drinkable. It'll remove not only the bacteria, but the virus.
Yeah, because water is critical.
Water is critical, and
that's the first thing to go.
I don't know, a couple of months ago there was a water boil. We have a water filter, a Sawyer water filter, that is so small, but it's so effective. It has the same filter that a dialysis machine is, and we can hook it to a water faucet, and they don't have to boil the water. They can just turn the faucet on, the water's drinkable. The trailer is equipped with life-saving items that'll work for whatever disaster there is.
Yeah, and we'll show this here.
And there's a picture of some of the items that you'll see in there.
Okay, we're absolutely out of time. We got about 15 seconds. Bob, what do you see for the growth of Disaster Aid USA over the next 5, 10, 15 years? What do you think?
I think it's growing. I think that we need to keep promoting it. We need to create awareness. I think that once our trailers start being used when disasters occur, people are going to understand our needs more. They're going to support us better. And I think in 10 or so years, we're going to be pretty much throughout the United States.
Thank you very much, Bob Grill and Kyle Morford, as we create the Emerald Planet.